Welcome to another episode of Game Set Match. We're at the lovely Richmond Hill Lawn Tennis Club. Our guest today is Johnny Glanville. Johnny is the founder of Simcoe Tennis, a performance coaching academy serving Simcoe County. In 1999, he went to Australia to compete and coach. He's a qualified teaching professional with Tennis Coaches Australia and coached with Gavin Hopper, former coach of Mount Monica Sellis and Mark Philippoussis, Pat Cash, former Wimbledon winner, and Gary Stickler, coach of Patrick Rafter. Johnny spent his years in Australia as the director of tennis at one of the country's premier tennis academies, where he coached numerous state and national champions. He is certified both in Canada and Australia as a Level 2 coach. In January of 2005, Johnny returned to Canada, and after a stint with Players Edge Tennis, he formed Simcoe Tennis in Barrie and can be found on the web at simcoetennis.ca. Johnny is also a freelance writer, having published tennis-related articles in both Canadian and Australian tennis magazines. He most recently joined the editorial board of the Ontario Tennis Association and is contributing writer for the OT magazine, which is published 3 times per year. Let's go meet Johnny. Johnny, thanks for taking the time from your busy schedule to allow me to speak with you briefly about your career, accomplishments, and aspirations as both a tennis professional and aspiring writer.
No problem.
I've known you now for about 3 years, and the one thing that really struck me with your coaching style is your peaceful and thoughtful approach and your focus on character development. Tell me more about your tennis philosophy and its impact on the players.
Sure. Basically, I kind of see tennis as a vehicle, to learn about yourself. And through my own experiences of playing the sport, I found it was the most frustrating and sometimes irritating sport of all the ones that I played, and it was the one that taught me the most about myself. So I developed a philosophy based around that. And the philosophy is basically that all the problems that you may encounter on a tennis court are not external. It's not the opponent or the racket or the strings or the shoes. It's always within yourself. And by playing tennis, if you continue to look within, then you can learn more about yourself. So our peaceful approach, or our thoughtful philosophy, is just basically about you developing your own character and using tennis as a vehicle to do that.
I know you're real keen on developing grassroots interest in tennis. Tell me about some of the programs you offer kids that will attract them to the game and keep them engaged into adulthood.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Again, it basically comes from when you develop as a player, and when I developed, I was in Barrie, and there wasn't a lot of instruction, and there wasn't a lot of entry-level tennis. So we've decided to try to create something along the progressive model, so that the players at a really young age, or even an older age but not a lot of experience, get a chance to compete. Because I find tennis is one of those sports that's a lot more fun to play than it is to just do practice and lines and have drills and that type of thing. So we've developed 2 things. One is a league. It's called the Southpaw Super League, with the help of our sponsor Southpaw. And the other is the Southpaw Summer Series with the OTA, which is 5 tournaments in smaller areas where kids get to play progressive tennis for the under 10s and regular tennis for the older kids, and they get a chance to play 3 matches no matter what. And the draw is unique in the fact that everyone makes the final. In the Super League, there are 2 divisions as well. There's an under 10 and there's an under 18, and the under 10 is a progressive format. So we're just trying to bring tennis to the smaller communities, rather than having these small town kids have to make the trip down to Toronto or the GTA or a bigger community where they're just outmatched. And a lot of times that one experience is not very good, and it's enough to turn them off the game, not to want to compete again. So that's our goal, is to give them a smooth transition, a lot like the Rogers rookie tournaments do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Something for everyone. Yeah. Something else about you that many may not know is your aspiring interest as a writer. I visited your blog at johnnyglanville.blogspot.com, and you have posted some amazing stories that are very poignant and thought-provoking. Tell me how you got started and where you'd like to go with this.
All right. Well, I've always written. I think I've written from a really young age. Creative writing was probably one of my most favorite subjects as a kid going through school, even like grade 7 and 8, right from then. But I went to an art college, and I studied interdisciplinary studies, so I did a lot of work with oral and written communication. And I started then writing short stories every year, and that's something called a zine. And that's now over 10 years old, because this was 1997 when I started doing that. And they're all stories about sport and art. And I found writing had an amazing ability to bridge the gap between athletes and artists. And sometimes there isn't a gap there, but sometimes there is a gap, and writing is a real good way of sort of bridging the two. And from the short stories, obviously the passion has continued into just journal writing. It's a real good way of therapy. And then I discovered that it's very helpful for tennis as well if you record what you're doing. So writing for me it's not really even something that I like to do, it's something that I have to do. So I try to encourage that in other people as well.
No.
It's an outlet, yeah.
Thanks very much, Johnny.
Yeah, no problem.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Game Set Match. This is Scott Fraser from the Ontario Tennis Association. Ready, kids?
Yes.